Chapter 33, in which Mayor Donovan tries to take action. Out of all the most strange occurrences that has happened in Kodono, the KAWAII Princess Kitty, under the alias of Kitty of Koriko, had staged on Tuesday, is the one that got the most attention with amazing subtlety. As news continues to circulate because of her, it has created a wave of shock and amazement which swept into all corners of the city. To the people who are superstitious, that finally sealed the deal, even abandoning the thoughts of precision and order instantaneously in the recent events that had occurred in the short amount of time. Now, under tremendous pressure from their irrational city folk, it was the beginning of the arousal of interest, of the questioning of whether humanity is or isn't the only worthy form of life that has ever walked the planet. As a result, even Mayor Donovan is being forced to do something about it, while still holding on to thoughts of precision and order. In the early afternoon, the grand clock above the City Hall at 402 Main Street let out a set of sweet brass rings as it lazily chimed 2. On top of the granite foundation, this civic building stood resplendent around Main Street proper, with its huge balconies, marble fluted columns, and copper-plated roofs, which had turned a rich, earthly green from the decades of exposure to the surrounding air. For now, everything was seemingly serene. The sky bright blue with occasional clouds floating by, the flag of Kodono flying atop the flagpole and flapping lazily in the breeze, traffic moving swiftly. Inside the City Hall boardroom, Mayor Fritz Donovan, a handsome man of 46 in a dark blue suit, assembled his 6 members of the city council. They were irritable and impatient. "Please take a seat," he said, before sitting on the top seat himself. "If you want some coffee, you let me know at any time. You got that? All right. Let's review why we're here, shall we? Please remain quiet so you can all listen." He cleared his throat and began reading from a piece of paper he held in his hands. "Since the founding of our city in 1735, no astonishing thing has ever happened. That is because people like us still hold onto thoughts of precision and order, 2 things that the city is always known for. However, 200 years later, before the coming bicentennial celebration, I've begun to receive complaints from my citizens, talks of certain incidents starting on the 12th of last month. It seems to me that talks of incidents determine whether we still hold on to the 2 things the city is known for or not. It turns out it is far more difficult." There was a general shaking of heads and murmurous agreement. "What I do, what other mayors do before me, is to preserve our founder's legacy from one generation to the other. Even though Ezra Kodono is long dead, just think of how disappointed he would be if he heard of headlines like these." He shows his 6 members of the city council so many headlines from the Kodono Times. "Bizarre cat parade takes over Main Street. Classic folklore to blame," it said. "Flying clothes invade Mulberry Street. Locals mystified," said another. "Unusual happenings continue to baffle city," said a third. "It's incidents like these that gives our entire city such a reputation as of lately," he said, passing them on to his 6 members one by one. "There's no way this could all be real." "I agree with what you said, 100%, Councilman Joe Norris said. "Can't help but feel baffled at times. But I had a feeling that this mysterious girl people have been talking about 3 weeks ago may be responsible for all these occurrences that happened here." "And yet, they all pin it on me," Mayor Donovan said. "In reality, I just remain sitting in my office, dealing with other things, like improved education and better transportation and passing park ordinances. Do you have any idea how much this is going to affect my chances at re-election this November? Now, where did this girl I've heard come from? I've been told she's half cat. Some things you just can't explain, Councilman Carmine Thorne said. I don't think this is a better excuse anymore, especially if it involves the coming bicentennial, Mayor Donovan said. I hate disagreeing with you, but these are all facts. People did attend the bicentennial parade at Main Street. They did see the spirit of freedom floating up in the air, with the 12 old mayors and Ezra Cardona on board. It's like they're back from the dead for a day, Councilman Norris said. So now what? Councilwoman Lisa Michelson asked. Are we going to postpone the celebration until further notice? We will do no such action, Mayor Donovan said. The Providence is scheduled to arrive this Friday from Empire City, according to the WAPA. So are we going to get to the bottom of this after the bicentennial? Councilman Jason Oakes asked. As long as this girl doesn't meddle with that too, Mayor Donovan said. Depending on who you talk to, he, the current and 20th mayor of the city after Ron Meyer, was the most aggressive when it comes to such things. I don't care how much in depth this is. I want hot dogs, balloons, shooting galleries, the whole schmear. We're gonna celebrate the city's 200th birthday proudly and publicly and without incident. That means there shall be no flying clothes and no cats on 2 legs parading down the streets. I don't know about you people or whatever religion you follow, but as long as there's still precision and order, I will not allow this foolishness to plague my city any further. Otherwise, what's going to cost me is my chance at being re-elected. This is not what I wanted. Precision and order must prevail. I don't know, Councilman Charles Seitz said. I don't think this will ever work. There has been more concerns from your citizens over the past few hours. Honestly, it'll be impossible to keep order until the next mayor elected, the 21st. Right now, as we sit here talking, stranger things have been happening around here. They still do. No one knows what bizarre incident she'll do next. That's when the locked door flung open, and an elegantly beautiful woman with well-groomed blonde hair barged into the boardroom, dressed in her black suit and bowler, the blue eyes filled with gloat. You have no idea how right you are, she said, her voice calm and cold. How did you get in here? Councilman Seitz demanded. I thought the door was locked. Then I found the spare key under the mat. What spare key? If you're desperate for answers, gentlemen, maybe I could be of assistance. The city council can see another person dressed in the same uniform standing next to her. An old man with an eye patch on the left side of his eye. There's also another man joining her, dressed in the same uniform. It was Ryutaro. Just get on with it, boss, so we can get out of here, the old man snapped. I hope you get comfortable, Ryutaro said. We're going to be here a long while. No, you're not. I'm calling security, Mayor Donovan barked. This is a private meeting. I'm afraid it won't do you any good, Ryutaro glared. Especially when I gave them gifts, the suited woman said. What happened to your eye? Councilman Thorne asked the old man. Got lost in a war or something? I suggest you stay out of it if you know it's good, the old man glared. Who are you three supposed to be? Mayor Donovan asked the group in the dark clothes. Council persons? You three don't dress like one. Fritz R. Donovan, Mayor of the City of Cardona. My name is Charlotte Simone Lenoir, she introduced. We work for no council or anyone. I'm her partner, Furukawa Ryutaro, he introduced. The old man, he's not important. If you know who this girl is, tell us, Mayor Donovan demanded. What if I tell you that this girl is actually yokai? Charlotte asked. What's a yokai? Supernatural monsters from Japanese folklore. You know what? I can already see where this is going. You do? You're one of those crackpot buffoons who believe in such things, are you? Then we don't want to hear it. She lurches a bit toward him. Mayor, there is a possibility. Councilman Satoru Takahata spoke up. Got something important to say? Councilman Thorne asked. They range diversely from the malevolent to the mischievous, or occasionally bring good fortune to those who encounter them. I come from Japan myself, visiting shrines and sacred temples. Exactly, Shad said. Therefore, I'm an expert when it comes to supernatural phenomenon. If you're an expert, who is she? Mayor Donovan asked. What is she? She snatches a newspaper from one of the councilman's hands. Using a red marker, she wrote the answer. Now we know what's black and white and red all over. She smiled sickly. I don't understand what that word is, Mayor Donovan said. Councilman Takahata took the newspaper and read it. It's Nekomusume, the name of a creature. It's Japanese for cat daughter or cat girl. Although they have no connection to Bakeneko or Nekomata, they are considered to be supernatural beings, Charlotte said. They are believed to be half cats or humans possessed by a cat. Do you think we should be afraid of this? Councilman Norris demanded. If you want to, Ryotaro said. Yet, unlike the others, this girl does great things. That's what Miss Lenoir told me. Regarding the people who are irrational in your city, Donovan, there shall be no concern about anything, Charlotte said. It's for the Nekomusume who decides what she's going to do next. I can see that these people appreciate the magnitude of it all. For the people on the north part of Kodono, they might as well welcome her from now on. Everyone. And soon the entire city. Humanity is such a troublesome little species these days. A dependence on their ignorance of the world around them, even the ignorance of superstitions. There's deception in her words, in a hidden mixture of anger and vitriol. What does she want? Councilwoman Michelson said. To make her feel welcomed, Charlotte said. Make people like you her friends, especially the superstitious. But even that was difficult. People are concerned by what they don't understand, Ryotaro said. By what they don't believe in. Because they don't want all that silly stuff put in their heads, Mayor Donovan said. It serves no purpose but to make them behave irresponsibly. I definitely don't want another incident like yesterday to happen again. I'm sorry to hear that, but nothing compares to what she may do next, Donovan. More things that will make your people be more and more irrational. If such an incident does occur, what's more, you will do absolutely nothing about it. You will not interfere. That's right, Charlotte said. With this girl continuing to wander around these streets, people will start seeing isolated incidents like these headlines. If people even go as far as investigating, they'll certainly realize that what they all experience was not their imagination, a dream, or a hallucination from either schizophrenia or medical drugs. They'll be face to face with reality. Then they'll turn to science and their sophisticated machines. When that fails, they will finally be baffled. Since they've witnessed something like this parade, and anything this Nekomusume has ever done, they can't explain no matter how hard they try. They'll be forced to realize that mankind isn't the only worthy form of life in the universe. Pretty soon, creatures like her won't be so hard to find. Ryotaro saw the mayor shook his head in disbelief. You're shaking your head, Donovan, like you're disagreeing with her. Do you want to tell her what you're thinking right now? I think it's best if you three should leave while we discuss this, Councilman Norris said. Privately, of course. Barely controlled rage now shows on Ryotaro's face, glaring towards him. I think not. Mayor Donovan remained silent. He had the compulsion to throw these crazy people out. After all, he was fed up with dealing with so many incidents. However, Charlotte brings forth a beckoning cat figurine, placing it onto the table. She glared at him. 96 hours from now, this girl will continue to go on her rampage. And after 96 hours, everyone will be aware and admit. In 96 hours, we have the bicentennial celebration, Councilman Seitz blurted out. I'm aware of that, Charlotte said. But what is more important, the words I say or your bicentennial? She starts up the device with a switch. The left arm begins moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. These creatures are not simply derived from fairy stories. As an expert, they deserve to be welcomed like something new and novel. They're not very lenient if they end up unheard and unspoken indefinitely. Which means, if you refuse to welcome them, I will make it the least of your worries. The old man has had enough, and grabs her by the arm. Ryotaro tightly gripped the old man's hand and punched him in the chest, making him back away. So when I'm gone, after you've adjourned this meeting, maybe you should rethink on this new perspective of common everyday life, instead of your re-election, she said. Mayor Donovan picked up the figurine and throws it against the wall, the porcelain shattering on impact, exposing the mechanism from inside. He glared at her. I want to level with you right now. You and your men are no different from the other lunatics in this city. I refuse to be ridiculed by crazy people like you any further, especially creatures that don't exist. Precision and order is what my city is known for, and nothing else. Do you understand that? You know, at this point, Miss Lenoir would have transformed partially and scare him and the council straight, as she was now offended, especially when she found one of her figurines destroyed. But that was wishful thinking. Instead, she remained firm. Fine, she said. It seems to me that you want to just sit here and wait to see what happens. What good will that do? I wish I could give you the best of luck on the city's bicentennial. If things do not work out in the end, especially if that cat girl remains unwelcome, it will be you who suffers the consequences. The unknown has many who are among the living, and many ways of appearing. The mayor pounded the table with his fist and screamed, Get out! She immediately left the boardroom. Ryotaro drags the old man by the arm and slamming the door. The council winced when there was a whack and a scream of pain from the old man behind the door. The mayor takes a sip of water from the glass beside him and cleared his throat. Before we adjourn this meeting, he said, I want you all to know that we are considered reasonable people. Reasonable people have a lot of potential. We refuse to throw it all away and believe in such ridiculous fairy tales and folklore. And we're not starting today. Therefore, I want your confirmation. If such bizarre incidents occur again, we will take appropriate action. Like enforcing our thoughts of precision and order, Councilman Seitz suggested. Like keeping such things unheard, Councilman Norris asked. Mayor Donovan nodded. That's exactly what we will do. You shouldn't have done that, Councilman Takahata said sadly. Mayor Donovan said, Mr. Takahata, if you decide to protest, see to it. Do whatever you like, because we're not going to just ignore them like they have no meaning. In Japan, cats are revered for giving good luck and other positive results. What would happen if this cat girl turns out to bring luck to your city? This talk of this cat daughter shall not be tolerated while there's a celebration underway. I want you all to know that this is the right thing to do. Why? Can you imagine how the people in the city would react if they knew there was someone from another world wandering around here? I still don't think this is going to work, Councilman Sides said. That Charlotte character we've met is serious. I don't care what she said, Mayor Donovan glared. That crazy woman has no power over me, and nothing bad will ever happen to this celebration. From now on, we focus on the bicentennial and nothing else. Nothing else. And I don't ever want to hear another word about this cat girl for the whole of next week. There is no way something like this girl could ever exist. If the city folk wants me to do something about it, well, that's exactly what I'm going to do, so they could finally shut up about it. Everything must be resolved by Friday. This meeting is adjourned. Very well, Councilman Takahata sighed. As long as this supernatural girl feels welcome, at least, she isn't hostile. But I must fear she never stays hidden for long. When Mayor Donovan and the council leave the boardroom, they could find that the security guards are on all fours, barking, growling, and acting like dogs. If something is to blame for their behavior, they could just blame it on the figurines. Outside, Charlotte, Ryutaro, and the engineer ventured down the streets. She looked around, glaring at the traffic and the pedestrians on the sidewalk. She gestures Ryutaro and her partner to follow her to someplace private. Soon enough, they arrive at a narrow alley, where clothes are hung between buildings, and the occasional barking from a dog can be heard. How times have changed since the Edo period, she said. Too much have changed until the day you told me about this girl queen, Ryutaro said. I would like to congratulate her. In the 200-year history of the city we live in, that parade this Princess Kitty had staged was the most infamous, the most baffling, the most unexplained event to ever wander the streets. And yet, we share a slice in collaborating with her. So rewarding of having her actions make the front page of every paper in bold print. I was hoping she feels very proud of herself. At this point, I can see why you classify this girl as the one. So you've heard. It'll be the first time in 200 years astonishing things actually happen here. Yet, she doesn't feel welcomed completely. In a few days, even though they'll be talking about it, no one would care about more actions. And what will become of us? Will we have to wait longer? I say, you two definitely know how to make a good first impression, especially you, boss, the engineer groaned. Charlotte immediately took off her glasses and her earrings. You nearly transformed when she makes you angry like that, he said. She snarled as she partially transformed. If I really want her to transform, I'd tear his face to shreds right in front of his peers, she snarled, her sharp claws protruding from her fingers. How unrefined the mayor turned out to be, he sighed. Well, thank God that didn't happen. The mayor isn't the only person who pushed her buttons, engineer. Ryutaro glared. You have an audacity to push them yourself when you get in her way. You're a Bakeneko stuck in human form. You are not fooling anyone from the underground as they come to hear. For your information, folks, I don't think people would ever listen to me, boss, the engineer said. I know they won't, she said. It is people like Donovan is why I hate all of mankind, innocent or otherwise. I can even explain why in 4 little words. They do not listen. Given by how angry she became, angry enough to trigger her transformation, the mayor's decision would drive her into letting unknown forces silently giving 300,000 people and their mayor in the city an ultimatum, only for the sake of the cat girl's presence in the city. The Cat Queen knew for a fact that she wouldn't do it alone. She went on. We never wanted anything but to see the One fulfill her destiny, as it is written in this story. As it is written, Ryotaro said. Well, Queen, do you think we should do something about it? About their bicentennial? I gave Donovan his chance, darling, she said. Our best bet is to never reconsider them again. We should stay out of this. Is that what you're saying? However, that depends in the days ahead. I can already tell they're standing this close to the threshold, and all I had to do is stand behind them and shove them off, one by one. What baffles me the most is that these people will simply never understand the true nature of the unknown, derived from classic folklore. When will they accept the fact that reckless actions have consequences? There will be consequences. They're going to be more terrible than you can ever imagine. And now, these people never will understand the way the unknown works here. If these people choose to refuse to believe and accept in a disproportionate retribution without the cat girl's presence, it will happen to their precious little celebration. They would think it's a terrible case of human error. And the providence, you ask? I can bet one of my tails that something terrible happens to that balloon. They'll see the disaster for several miles, and from hundreds of feet up in the air. There will be panic in these here streets, while they scream their heads off like a bunch of wild cocks, with their heads completely decapitated. Will that be enough to make people believe in one princess from a magical kingdom? I say, they best be thinking about that, for they have 4 days to make her known. If they do nothing, they'll only have the unknown to deal with. In the meantime, I think it's best if you should let my partner and I stay at Reynard Manor with you and your servants. Hotels no longer interest me. I will not tolerate living in a city of precision and order for too long. If that is ordained, Queen. You and your cat bus can stay in my residence for as long as you like. I'll have Inari show you where you'll sleep when you get there. Now, if you don't mind, I want to be with my mistress. I wouldn't want to keep her waiting when it comes to expressing her love in the dark. And one more thing. He gives her a handkerchief to cover her grinning fangs like a mask. There may be someone in the streets, he said. You don't want to be seen partially. Your mask is already cracking. If they look at your eyes, tell them it was a rare eye disorder. She puts it on, saying through the fabric, I can be too careful any time I want, darling. Then her muscles became relaxed to still her collar. We will meet again, he said. Here's to the Princess Kitty's existence. And then he left. He speaks the truth, darling, she said to the engineer. There's only one thing I can do now. What? He asked. I think I'll pay a visit to those little children who had spectated the parade. I believe one painful secret from a family member is about to be spilled out. Once they find out, they'll surely be walloped where it really hurts. Like that fox walloped me in the bollocks? Or how about that fox throwing him out of a window? There is a difference between a fox and a kitsune. A fox is not who he is. Also, it won't be funny if I throw you out of a window. No, it won't. It's not even funny if someone else does that to me. Don't be so prickly. these two children will surely make her presence known themselves. And as for the people who are superstitious, the mayor and the city council, if anything disastrous happens, and someone who believed in her ended up in danger, why should I ever show sympathy towards these non-believers, these doubters? Why should she ever be persuaded to help? If Kodono welcomes everyone, then shouldn't Kodono also welcome the Princess Kitty? Or perhaps, maybe. Already, claws protrude out of her fingers. You really are out of your head when it comes to having unhealthy delusions of grandeur, he snapped. Whether you like it or otherwise, I still think it's best that way. If these people don't believe, or the city welcoming... You're starting to sound like that stupid mayor, darling, she said. This city shall be her home. See to it that I shall not let anyone take it away from her. She is unmistakably opposed when it comes to these people who are skeptic. If something is about to go down in the next 96 hours, be aware that they only have themselves to blame, because they choose to believe in what is real and nothing else. I have no authority over them, but they don't know what will hit them this Sunday. What about Kitty? Do you have power over her? The Princess Kitty has power over us, myself mostly. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't meet those children at all. What do you see in that girl? You could say that she made me feel all fuzzy and warm and things like that. It seems I have grown too much of the princess. She does put a smile on my face. In the end, people would come to depend on her at the slightest glimpse of human misfortune. You know it's never going to be easy, boss, he warned. And if it has backfired, I will not be a part of it. You, your furball, the fox, and your raccoon friends, the lot of you. I will not regret this. I really hate it when you worry too much, darling, she said, glaring. With strange creatures like us, the Princess Kitty shall reign forever and ever. What do you think what would happen if the Princess Kitty is not there, and bad misfortunes happen to this bicentennial? And it would be the people who let this happen. It would be the people who made her go into hiding. After all, they just had to disrespect such Japanese folklore. Until the Princess Kitty is fully revealed, the fate of their beloved celebration will forever be sealed. Of course, focusing on the bicentennial celebration has proved to be very hard on Mayor Donovan and his council, no matter how they try, especially after the other incidents that occurred for the past 2 weeks. Incidents that involve creatures that aren't supposed to exist. In fact, what Charlotte Lenoir said to Donovan has already been confirmed. One incident occurred on Saturday, May 25th, while Princess Kitty was in the Maybell expedition. A wealthy family of 5 were at a campsite 15 miles from the city, only to be confronted by Yukai no Tori, an enormous bird of prey with a diet consisting of infants. The family managed to remain hidden inside their caravan, but things go from bad to worse when their baby started crying. Hearing it, the giant bird immediately tore the caravan apart with her talons, in order to take the baby away with her beak, so she can later devour it. However, she flees when she heard a distant howl from the great wolf, telling the bird to leave the family be. Alarmed by the turn of events, the family was forced to go back to the city on foot, telling the other upper-class folk. Eventually, Mayor Donovan caught wind of the incident during a press conference, much to his annoyance. Another incident in the city occurred 3 days later. During a hike in the woods, Justin Fleming, a clerk at a local haberdashery store, has encountered a woman in a green kimono carrying a large pair of scissors. On her face, she wears a mask that covers her mouth. When she asks Justin if he finds her attractive, he said yes. She removes her mask, revealing the corners of her mouth slit from ear to ear, before asking the question again. Instead, Justin screamed in terror and flees, trying to get away from her. Fortunately, Justin made back to the city alive, because he was unaware that he accidentally dropped some hard candies when he slipped and fell on the trail. But not before he's under safe custody from the police, after he tells them about the ordeal. Unfortunately, the police finds no slit-mouthed woman, thus having Justin be committed to a hospital for 2 months. Soon enough, the incident with the slit-mouthed woman has brought to the attention of Mayor Donovan. Outraged by the turn of events, he refused to ask questions, knowing that he has to preserve his reputation for his chance at re-election. It did little to help. Another incident has occurred at a local church 5 days later. Before services, a priest was shocked to find a large kitsune running around at the altar. Shocked by the turn of events, he turned the creature away with his crucifix, chanting, "I cast you out, demon, from the house of God!" Unfortunately, the kitsune looked down curiously and decides to intimidate him by igniting the tip of his tails with fire. Immediately, the priest knelt down and prayed. "Father, am I being tested by you?" Eventually, the kitsune vanished, leaving the priest still praying. When services began, the priest began preaching his recent recollection. One of the men in the pews was Councilman Takahata, seeing that he was from Japan himself. After a string of incidents, the drawing race and the cat parade proved to be too much for Mayor Donovan. However, to the Cat Queen, it seemed that the creatures, either hostile or merciful, were already constantly becoming corporeal, one after the other, wherever the princess wanders off to, and whenever she did great things.